discussion about the weather. If there was snow, that might benefit Ron Paul because his followers might be more dedicated, or maybe Rick Santorum's. It has been a clear day, a cold day, but no snow in Iowa, Will.
Did you notice, Anderson, Black Eyed Peas, they were playing in Clive at the Iowa caucus over there? Tonight's going to be a good night. What should we make of that?
I think you're showing your musical knowledge as once the leader of a band called the Monkees before
Correct.
the actual Monkees.
Good memory. Anderson Cooper, remembering from Buffalo, New York. The Monkees. All right, we got some serious stuff coming up. Entrance poll results. We're digging a little deeper. Let's take a look. These are the early respondents. Stand by. And look at this. Based on the early people who arrived, the early voters, a tie between Ron Paul and Mitt Romney, at least according to this early entrance poll result. Rick Santorum is third with 18%. Newt Gingrich fourth with 13%. Let's take a look at the bottom three as well. Remember, these are the early voters, people who showed up early, 11% for Rick Perry, 7% for Michelle Bachmann, 1% for John Huntsman. But the big news, at least right now, and I want to say this is not these are not official numbers. This is not the final number. These are the early arrivals right now. But it's obviously a tie, at least among those who responded early in our entrance poll, between Ron Paul and Mitt Romney. Let's go to Dana Bash over at Ron Paul headquarters, and Kenny Crowley's over at Mitt Romney headquarters. Dana, first to you. I don't know if the folks over there see these reports, but if they do, they must be encouraged, the Ron Paul supporters.
Oh, there's no question. They are very encouraged. Interestingly, and you pointed this out, that these are early entrance polls, and the Ron Paul supporters are known to be very aggressive and very dedicated, so they most likely would have gotten there very early. The Ron Paul campaign, they are this is their headquarters, and you can see behind me there aren't very many people here, and the reason is because, of course, they are all out at caucus sites. Ron Paul himself, in fact, is at Ankeny Elementary School, right near where I am, and we're expecting to hear him speak. He's got his children, he's got his grandchildren fanned out across the state, being his representative, speaking to these caucuses, trying to get people at the last minute to vote. But there's no question that they are very excited inside the Ron Paul campaign to see these initial entrance polls.
And as excited, Dana, as the Ron Paul folks are, I'm sure the Mitt Romney folks are pretty happy, Candy, as well. Remember, these are not the final numbers. These are the entrance poll, the early arrivals, the early voters, but shows a tie right now with Ron Paul.
Right, and that's, ditto what Dana just said. Supporters for Mitt Romney are presumably in their caucuses right now, so you're basically looking at a room full of journalists and folks who are setting up the room for Mitt and Ann Romney to come when they, in fact, find out what the results are here. Also, like Ron Paul, Mitt Romney has folks fanned out across these caucuses. Some of his sons are out there. He has some surrogates out there. Look, they feel pretty good about tonight. If they see early entrance polls showing that they're tied with Ron Paul, if he cannot win, the next scenario they would take is losing to Ron Paul, because they just don't think he is viable, either with the system and the infrastructure that Ron Paul has in place, or with the Republican Party in general. So second to Ron Paul they would take, but a first, again, would really grease those skids as he moves into New Hampshire, where Mitt Romney is showing a huge lead.
Yeah, these are the early voters. This is the entrance poll. These are not official results. I want everyone to be cautious. Let's go over to John King right now. John, and remember, you made an excellent point before, the early arrivals 4 years ago in the Republican and Democratic caucuses in Iowa, we didn't necessarily get it right in terms of when all of the respondents came in.
Right, the most eager people show up early, and sometimes the more organized campaigns show up late. So we'll watch and see how this plays out. But if you look at this right now, a dead heat in the early wave between Ron Paul and Mitt Romney, what does that tell you? Well, here's the empty map. And again, any minute now, you're going to start seeing counties starting to report their caucus results, and this will start to fill in. Number one, remember, we've got 7 candidates. Huntsman's not really playing in Iowa, so 6 candidates in contention in Iowa. I want to go back in time to 2008 and show you the Republican race. Number one, we pretty much know this already. Ron Paul is going to build. He won one lonely county, a tiny county, 4 years ago. He is building. Where do you watch for Ron Paul? Watch for him up here, Ames. You have a college campus there. There are some college campuses over here in the state, also Tea Party and evangelical voters. Let's see if he can stretch that coalition. But, Wolf, I want to focus on something else. You just said the early wave shows Governor Romney tied with Ron Paul at 24%. This could become part of the conversation tonight. Again, these are early preliminary numbers. We don't know if Governor Romney will go higher or he'll go lower. But look at what Governor Romney got in Iowa 4 years ago, 25%. If he matches that number, if he just matches that number, even if he wins, look, winning is great. Winning beats losing. But if he just matches this number, there will be the conversation we've had throughout the Republican primaries. Can he grow? Can he expand his coalition? Can he do more? Now, winning will be a win, and if Governor Romney wins, here's how it's going to happen. They think out here. They think tonight the electorate is slightly older, slightly more independent, slightly fewer evangelicals by percentage, maybe more in volume but fewer. If that's the case, if the Romney campaign is right about that, they believe they can put the race together here in the West Des Moines suburbs, do well out here, and get to 25, 26, 27% and win the race. So a win would be a win. We have to watch Ron Paul very early in the results. The big question is, what's the expectations games? And will some in the party, and I'm interested in what our strategists think about this, will some in the party say, well, if that's the number and he wins, does he say, great, I won the Iowa caucuses? Or do some people in the party say, why can't the guy who is favored in New Hampshire, who would look with an Iowa win to be the prohibitive Republican nominee, why can't he grow? Why can't he get more Republicans to say, he's our guy?
Good question, and we'll continue to search for that answer. We're going to go inside the caucuses. We have cameras at a lot of these caucuses. We're going to see what's going on. They're going to vote. They're going to count ballots. We're going to give you a flavor of what's going on. But right now, in the first wave of these Iowa entrance poll results, looks like it's very, very close. In fact, a tie between Mitt Romney and Ron Paul. Rick Santorum coming in third, at least in these entrance poll results. Our coverage continues right after this.
CNN's coverage of the Iowa caucuses is sponsored by Cadillac and by VoteForEnergy.org, a program of the American Petroleum Institute. Log on to learn more. Go to CNNPolitics.com to get the most up-to-date news and facts from the best political team on television.
What if we told you that Cadillac borrowed technology from Ferrari to develop its suspension system? Or what if we told you that Ferrari borrowed technology from Cadillac to develop its suspension system? Magnetic ride control, pioneered by Cadillac, perfected in the 556 horsepower CTS-V. We don't just make luxury cars, we make Cadillacs.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
For American jobs.
I vote.
I vote for more domestic energy.
Energy from all sources.
To get America working again.
I vote.
I vote. I vote for energy security.
That will come from developing
our own energy resources.
Like oil and natural gas.
Right here.
Right now.
Right now.
I vote.
To re-energize America.
With American energy.
Learn more at voteforenergy.org.
I got a little leaf on my Ancestry.com family tree. When I clicked on it, I got a hint. Then another leaf, which gave me another hint. I'm like the family detective.
Visit Ancestry.com right now and discover the world's largest online family history resource.
Healthier, more radiant skin. It's in your future now. Discover the power of Aveeno Positively Radiant with Total Soy. It's clinically proven to visibly reduce past damage, while broad-spectrum SPF 30 helps prevent future damage. Aveeno Positively Radiant.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy is the New York Times critics' pick. Superb, a mystery about mysteries within mysteries. Rolling Stone raves. Gary Oldman's performance is flawless. He's one of the best actors on the planet. Now's the time. Perhaps the great spy tale of our time. 5 stars, 2 thumbs up, and hands down the best thriller of the year. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Rated R. In select theaters now, everywhere Friday.
Mid-grade dark roast forced fresh, full tank brain freeze keg donuts, rolling hot dogs, bag of ice, antifreeze, wash and dry, diesel self-serve fix-a-flat, jumper cables, 5% cash back. Right now, get 5% cash back at gas stations. It pays to discover.
IHOP's new hash brown stacks. Layers of spinach and mushroom, ham and Swiss, or savory bacon and cheddar atop golden hash browns. Oh no! A good meal makes your whole day. Fly in for new hash brown stacks and make it an IHOP day.
Just to recap, the early voters who arrived early in our entrance poll results showing a tie between Ron Paul and Mitt Romney. Rick Santorum 3rd. But remember, this is early. Things could change. These are not official results. I want to go to Shannon Travis. He's in Cedar Falls right now. He's sitting right there. You got a crowd of about 6,000 at the University of Northern Iowa, Shannon, where you are. Set the scene for us. Tell us what's going on right now.
Absolutely, Wolf. It's an arena full of people here at the University of Northern Iowa, and we're inside one of the caucus gatherings as they're moments away from the moment that we all want to know about, actually voting. I'm sitting here with one of the voters who is here. She lives in Union Township. This area and these bleachers over here are specifically for that township, and you were telling me just a moment ago that only days ago you decided who you would support.
Correct. I decided 3 days ago.
And who is that?
Rick Santorum.
And why is that?
Primarily the economy. I'm worried about the economy, and I needed to head in a new direction.
And do you think you might have to convince some of your other fellow neighbors and friends gathered here also?
This group seems a little stubborn, and I think we probably have all come knowing who we're going to support.
Got it. The tidy right there, Wolf. One vote for Rick Santorum. We'll see what the rest of these caucus goers gathered in these bleachers right here, who they will vote for.
All right, Shannon, stand by. Ron Paul is speaking over in Ankeny right now. Let's listen in.
On foreign policy, and I recognize the challenge, but tell you where I get my reassurance on my foreign policy. Not only do I know it's constitutional, why should we fight wars that aren't declared wars? How can we fight for our Constitution if we avoid using the Constitution? But where I get my reassurance are from the active military people. If you look at the donations that come from active military people, I get twice as much as all the other candidates put together. That sends a powerful message. They know being over there, fighting these wars, not winning the wars, and dragging them out. 10 years in Afghanistan, $4 trillion of debt have accumulated over these past years. And think of the tragic circumstances of the families disrupted, the lives that we have lost, and the people coming back injured and post-traumatic stress syndrome. And we're having an epidemic of suicide. If we care about our military, we would be much more cautious about how we go to war. We want a conservative constitutional government, which means the government is small, the people are large, the people assume responsibility for themselves, and believe me, the world and we would be better off. That is the road to peace and prosperity. I thank you very much for inviting me.
Ron Paul speaking to caucus goers in Iowa. He's trying to convince them to maybe change their minds and support him. They're going to start actually voting there very soon. Soledad O'Brien is joining us from Clive, Iowa. It looks like a pretty big event over there, Soledad. They're just sitting down. What did they just do, the Pledge of Allegiance?
They just did the Pledge of Allegiance, a very big event. They were estimating something like 1,200 people would be probably here, and I think that estimate is pretty accurate. They've just literally, Wolf, officially gotten underway, and Dr. Christy Taylor is the woman who's at the mic right now. She is the person who runs the caucuses. Two things happening. One, not only are they officially underway, number two, there is a rumor going through the crowd that Governor Rick Perry is going to be here very soon to address the crowd. We haven't seen his people officially here to bring him in, but we are told that he will be coming, not only from some of the people who are helping run this caucus, but also some of the folks in the crowd have told us as well, and they're very excited, those who support him, and even those who are on the fence say they're very excited to hear from him. A couple things going to happen. We're expecting in about 10 minutes that the candidates' surrogates, the representatives, will start giving speeches, and then after that, the voting begins here in Clive for two precincts, West Des Moines 1 and West Des Moines 2. Wolf?
Soledad, we'll get back to you. Let us know if Governor Perry shows up. We're anxious to hear what he has to say. Anderson, back to you.
Well, let's go over to Ali Velshi. He is monitoring social media sites, Twitter, to kind of get a reading of where people are at online. What are you seeing there?
All right, so these dots correspond to the colors that we've assigned to each of the candidates. Look at this peach color for Ron Paul all over the country. For the last 3 days while I've been having this board going, Ron Paul has largely been in the #1 spot in terms of volume of tweets. This tells you that in the last hour, Ron Paul, 4,700 people across the country or anywhere have tweeted with Ron Paul's name or handle in it. He's been in the top spot for a while. Take a look at #2. Number 2 is Mitt Romney at 1,770 tweets, and number 3 is Rick Santorum at 1,743. So these 3 have been in the top 3 spot, but we're also ranking sentiment here, Anderson, a combination of the volume of tweets that are mentioning these candidates and what people are saying about them, good, bad, or indifferent. Ron Paul has been in the number 1 spot all day. Sentiment is moving toward him on Twitter. Mitt Romney's been moving all over the board. He has not been in second place. He's been in 6th place at once with only Huntsman behind him. And look what's happening here. Number 3 is Rick Perry. Number 4 is Michelle Bachmann. And number 5 is Rick Santorum. So a lot of activity. This is not Iowa. This is the whole, this is everybody in the Twitterverse. This is the kind of stuff that's going on in the social media world. But Ron Paul winning not only, or at least in the top tier of our entrance polls, but also in the social media world.
Right, and Ron